Ready?
Now, 30 seconds.
Okay.
Show it.
Boom, boom, boom. Ready to start? Okay, today's Shiur is taking place here in the shul in Flatbush, called the Torah Flatbush. Motzei Shabbos LaParshas Tzav Tovshin Pei Beis, and we're all standing Lachem Mitosai of the Moron Sarateir Chaim Kanievsky Zechat Tzadik Levrocha, and said over in the name of Tzadikim that they said, what's the Indian? Did you say Kaddish after someone passes away? Say Skalav Yiskadash Shmei Rabbah. So you say, because each person has a certain amount of Kiddush Hashem that he contributes to the world. When a person passes away, he's not able to contribute that Kiddush Hashem anymore. So in order to be mashlim, to fill that void, Chazal or Mesakin, that you say Yiskalav Yiskadash Shmei Rabbah, somehow to fill what's missing, to fill the void. That's why regular people, a person passes away, there's a void in Kiddush Hashem. When the Gadol Hadar, or the person who's Mamish Damur HaTorah, the Talmud Chacham Shebedar is with such an amount of Torah, passes away, we feel completely helpless. How are we going to be marshing that void? The only possibility is the Yiskalav Yiskadash Shmei Rabbah is through Limud HaTorah. We're learning the same Torah, everybody doing what he can to be moisef a little bit in Iyun HaTorah, in the Yerushalayim that we take out of Torah, and how the Eibishter gave Kol Aloy Mater Lishma Zeichel Edvarim Harbe. Everything came through the Limud HaTorah Lishma, the Limud HaTorah of Moron Reb Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal. That was the Torah Lishma, the epitome of Torah Lishma, of Asmodas HaTorah, of Yerushalayim from Torah. So our job, our tafkid right now is being moisef and limud HaTorah, each person on his level. The Eibishter will help. By Alman Yisrael, the Eibishter will be machazik all of us, the whole world, and we'll be zeichem mitzvah Hashem to Psuras Tovas Shuas and Chanas. We're holding now Masechtas Yevom, and this week's daf was on Daf Tes Samad Aleph. We know that the Mishnah makes a list of different noshim that are chayiv in Yibum, and different noshim that are tourists from Yibum and Chalitza. But the Gemara then goes on Daf Tes, different cases where they're machloikesen. So is it stated in the Mishnah or is it not stated in the Mishnah? On the bottom of Daf Tes Amar Aleph, the Gemara brings a machloikes, Rabbi Akiva and Rabbanon, that Rabbi Akiva's sheet in Kol HaTorah Kula, the sheet of the Rabbanon is Chayvei Krisus Ein Kedushin Teifsim Bay. That if someone tries to marry one of the Arayas, not Yibum, a regular marriage, the halacha is the Kedushin is not Teifis. It's not only an Isser, there's no possibility of marrying a Chayvei Krisus. The Kedushin doesn't take place. Chayvei Lavin is an Isser. L'marshal Hamona L'koyin Gadol Mamzer. There's a lav in the Torah, you're not allowed to marry a mamzer. However, according to the Rabbanon, that doesn't have the chaymer of a chayvei krisus. So you're over a lav if you marry a mamzer, if you live with a mamzeres. However, you're only over a lav. Kedushin is teifsin. However, Rabbi Akiva holds Kedushin is not teifsin. So sheet of Rabbi Akiva, chayvei lavin, Kedushin is not teifsin. So it'll come out also an afgamin. According to Rabbi Akiva, according to the Chachamim, if someone lives with a chayvei krisus, the offspring would be a mamzer. Mashenken, if you live with a chayvei lavin, you're over a lav. The child might be a pogum, but it's not a mamzer because the kedushin is there. So those two things, pashtus, go together. You're not a mamzer according to the Chachamim, and you would be a mamzer according to Rabbi Akiva. So in the Mishnah there's a list of arayas that you can't do Yibum. Why? Because there are rayas. So it's left out, according to Rabbi Akiva, all the cases of Chayvei Lavin. So the Gemara says, Ein Chanami. Our mission is the like Rabbi Akiva. And according to Rabbi Akiva, Chayvei Lavin would not have Yibum because it would be daima to Chayvei Krisis. As we state in the Gemara just says, we don't go with Rabbi Akiva. It's a right that the mission is not the Kulam. Freik Taisus in a Welt Shas Taisus. Taisus says, that's true, it's Chayvei Lavin. It's true, it's Chayvei Lavin. So Taisus, but it's a klal in Shas. Asay is doicha lois asay. If an asay is doicha lois asay, so let the asay of Yibum be doicha the lav of Mamzer. Umemela, you're allowed to do it. By Chayvei Krisus, ein asay doicha lois asay sheyesh by koris. So Mela, if you want to make Yibum, there's no Yibum. Frek Taisus v'teime. Teime l'ri. Amay le'amrina nami l'Rabbi Akiva. It's true it has the chaymer of no tfisas kedushin. So that's a chaymer. But it still falls under the regular rubric of what? Lavim. Oib sedar lav, vol mi lav zogin, mitzvahs say von Yibum, should the deicher is a loisa say, Taisus bleibt schwer. Taisus says he doesn't have a terrace to the kash. So the Avnei Meluim, the Ktei Sachesh, in Simin Yud Ches Siv Kotten Aleph. Ayisod. So I want to be magdim ayisod to this din. So Davnei Meluim as what's the halacha when there's no tfisas kedusha? What would be the din if someone marries somebody and it's not chayvei krisis, and somehow lu yitzui theoretically after the marriage it would become a chayvei krisis? What would happen to the marriage? I married legally. Now it became an isser of tfisas kedusha. It became an isser of a chorus, and there's no tfisas kedusha. So Rashi in Mesechtes Yevom is daf mem tesam and alf. Rashi tells us that there is no, that it would be poka limafrei, it would be mafkira kedusha. It's not tfisas kedushin. Is not only it doesn't allow you to get married, but once you're married, you have it.
Is there any case of that?
We're coming to a case. So the Gemara, you would have so the Gemara, if first we're talking theoretically. So theoretically you would become a chayvei krisis. So that, not lemafreya. Not lemafreya. I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's not lemafreya. It's a din, it's a chesorin in tfisas kedusha. If someone is married and there's a chayvei krisis, you can't be married. It's antithetical to the Indian of marriage, is the chayvei krisis. So an isha, the chayvei krisis cannot have. So to Avnei Meluim, where's the case? In Mesechtes Yevom Estaf Mem Tesam et Beis, the Gemara wants to know, is there tfisas kedushin by a soita? We know the Torah tells us, if an isha becomes a soita, she was mizana tachas baila, her husband is also to live with her. That's chayvei lavin. According to Rabbi Akiva, chayvei lavin, there's no tfisas kedushin. Zog the Gemara, nein. If he lives with her, again, soita, there is tfisas kedushin. Because the Gemara says, soita has tfisas kedushin. If he's megarish her, and then he remarries her, even though he's not allowed to remarry her, because it's chayvei lavin, if he remarries her, there's a tfisas kedushin. So the Gemara, because soita doesn't fall under the rule of tfisas kedushin. So Rashi, what's the Gemara's right? Where does the Gemara know that a soita doesn't have tfisas, that a soita has tfisas kedushin? So Rashi, the mere fact that according to Rabbi Akiva, the husband has to give her a get. Once she became a soita, she has to get a get from her husband. For Rashi, why would she need a get from her husband? According to Rabbi Akiva, she just became a chayvei lavin. If she's a chayvei lavin, according to Rabbi Akiva, there's no tfisas kedushin. If there's no tfisas kedushin, so it should have been pakad kedushin, and now she doesn't need a get.
Who says she's a guest?
No, Shteta, she needs a get. Farish Pasik, the Torah says she needs a get. V'niskarsha, the Torah says she needs a get. So Rashi is a raya. So Rashi is a raya that after the gerushin, she also would have tfisas kedushin. Because if she would not need tfisas kedushin, the halacha would be poka. So the mere fact that she needs a get, so Rashi mem tesam et beis, is a raya that after she's megareshes, she has tfisas kedushin. Tosfos argues with Rashi in a separate cheshbon. But Rashi steht yisod that nish tvisas kedushin, not tvisas kedushin, is not totally at the time of the inception of the marriage. Marriage cannot be held out with a neat tvisas kedushin. According to the Chacham, that's בחייבי krisis. According to the Akiva, it's בחייבי לאוין. The exception to the בחייבי לאוין is what? Is Soita. Because Soita is a besonder, separate, independent Gzeres HaKosov. So in that independent Gzeres HaKosov, it's that in. So what would happen if a say would be doicha loisa say? But according to Rabbi Akiva, loisa is aimed by tvisas kedushin. So the first bia is mutter. Why is that mutter? I say is doicha loisa say. So since I say is doicha loisa say, the bia rishayna is mutter. Right after the bia rishayna, she's hadra back. She reverts back to what? To a regular chayvei lavin. If she goes back to a regular chayvei lavin, according to Rabbi Akiva, she becomes a woman of not tvisas kedushin. So there's no more yibum. The yibum can't do oif. The yibum cannot produce a kedushin which is retainable, which is possible, because the second after the bir rishayna, she's now aser al chayvei lavin. If she's aser al chayvei lavin, so now it's tvisas kedushin. If you wouldn't learn like Rashi, so once you got through the gate and you made a yibum on her, so now she could be a wife. She could be a wife, everything will be good. And now it'll stay. Good, she'll come again and eat tvisas kedushin. But once you got through, you started, it would be good. But now if the fact is, according to Rashi, once there's a tvisas kedushin, it's poka, so the whole yibum will be a time-pegged yibum of that amount of time. And maybe that would be good. Says up a fairish gemara kedushin. If someone says to an isha, "Hayoim at ishti, ulamacher ein at ishti," ein zu ishus. It's not a kedushin. Kedushin has to be perpetual. It has to always be. Im kain zok 1 second. Im kain. Davnei Mulum explains, that's why chayvei lavin, good you'd say asay doich alois say. But if you say that asay doich alois say, it would not be possible in Yibum. Why wouldn't it be possible in Yibum? If according to Rabbi Akiva. Bishlim, if you don't hold like Rabbi Akiva, so you hold chayvei lavin, doesn't touch the tvisas kedushin, so then the halacha would be, you do it. The next day you can't live with her. Why can't you live with her? Because you have a chayvei lavin. But you're still married to her, you still have to give her a get. That's enough for Hilchas Yibum. But if, according to the Rabbi Akiva, the Rabbi Akiva holds chayvei lavin have no tvisas kedushin. So if there's no tvisas kedushin, so then it's over. It's a stira to Yibum. So
that's the din of Asay the Loisa say. It's oigel legamri the Loisa say.
Oh, so unless you'd have to say that I say the Loisa say, but you see, it's not true because according to us, let's say chayvei lavin. You say I say doich alois say. You're only allowed to make the bir rishayna, so the lav comes back.
No, but
that's a comparison gemara. So according to Rabbi Akiva, the lav should come back, and then you have the itvisas kedushin. Just like the lav comes back for us, and you have that you can't live with her again, so too the lav comes back, and you have the itvisas kedushin. So according to Rabbi Akiva, you'll never be able to have that din. Gewaldig in the world.
Well, maybe it's more simpler than that. Maybe it just means Rabbi Akiva said that even if Asay we doif Asay, but there's no tvisas kedushin on this type of marriage. If there's absolutely no tvisas kedushin, Asay because I say.
But if the lav is not there, you're saying.
It just says you can have beer.
No, you're just saying it does. Okay, I hear 1 second.
If there's no tvisas kedushin, then the kasha will never kasha.
I agree with you, but I'm going with Tosfos' understanding. Tosfos understood that if it would be Asay Doich say, your thing will come back. Maybe there's something to what you're saying. Something to what you're saying. I'm going now with the premise of Tosfos. Tosfos is in the kasha if you would say Asay. So the Avnei Mulum is agreeing to Tosfos. Lo'ilam, you would say Asay Doich say. But the second it comes back and eat tvisas kedushin, that's a contradiction to that. Now, one thing we're gonna point it out soon: the havana of Yibum. According to the Avnei Mulum, there's a yisoid for the whole Masechtas Yevomis in his Havana, but we'll come to it. Before we come to this, there's a bomb. All the Gedolei Achronim say a beautiful Avnei Mulum. We started Masechtas Yevomis with Daf Gimel Amud Beis. The Gemara asked the kasha, How does the Mishnah say Chamesh Esrei Noshim? There's no Yibum because they're Chayvei Krisis, they're Arayis. So the Gemara, maybe I'll say is Doichalois to say Sheyesh by Karis. The Gemara answered a kasha. So the Gemara, no, maybe I'll say is Doichalois to Sheyesh by Karis. Maybe I not say Doichalois. So the Gemara is a special pasuk in the Torah. It says Oleho in the parasha of Arayis, and there's a word Yevom Yavei Oleho by Yibum. So we makish it, we put it together, and we say that the Arayis of Kol Torah Kula apply to Yibum, and by Yibum you also don't have the Chamesh Esrei Noshim. But the Gemara first started off with what? If I say would be Daichalois to say Sheyesh by Karis, what would the din be? You'd have Yibum on Chayvei Krisis. The K'tzais of Davnei Malum just told me a svara. Even if I say is Daichalois, I say, you'd still have Tvisas Kedushin, which will come back and bite you and stop the Tvisas Kedushin, and then there can't be a Yibum. Oy bazai, so the Gemara is preferish connected the K'tzais. What is the K'tzais saying? I say Daichalois, say won't happen. Davnei Malum, I'm sorry. It can't be that it'll help me. Why can't it help me? Because even if it would be, I say Daichalois to say that the next day's eat Tvisas Kedushin is going to bother me. Chayvei Krisis, everyone is made that is eat Tvisas Kedushin. The only reason there's Tvisas, the only problem over there, the Gemara said, I say is Doichalois Sheyesh by Karis. On that, the Gemara says, no, ain't I say Doichalois. Maybe even if I say is Doichalois Sheyesh by Karis, there's a special pasuk of Oleho. Absent the pasuk of Oleho, you'd have the din. Faket from the K'tzais. Faket from the Avnei Malum. Have a fair Gemara. And not a favor from the Gemara. The first Gemara, Mesechtas Yevamis. Then the Gemara talks about it. The Gemara says such a thing. How could Avnei Malum honor such a tzad? Abafeir Gemara. Skash is asked by all the Gedolei Achreinim. What is the pshat? What?
The Davein, the hymn is by chorus.
Chorus should be worse.
Yeah.
Chorus should even be worse. A lav is only according to Rabbi Akiva. Chorus is everybody knows. It's no Tvisas Kedushin.
It has to be a chiluk.
We know there's a chiluk. We're going to have to see what the chiluk is. First, we have to tell the kasha.
Once you even come to Max Yeshusach, so maybe it knocks off everything. You're right.
Even but not lavin. The Avnei Malum wants to say lavin. So then lavin. So how's he answering Taisa's kasha? How's he answering Taisa's kasha? Taisa says that.
I don't understand this terrible.
So maybe chorus is. So in order to understand, I want to be myself. One more kasha on Av Gimel Amud Beis. On Av Gimel Amud Beis, the Gemara has a kasha. Eina say maybe I say is the Gemara says Eina say doichalois sheyesh b'karis. So zok the Gemara Eina say doichalois sheyesh b'karis. So then, what do I need a pasuk of Oleho? We have three blot of Gemara. The Gemara is going back and forth. Why do I need the pasuk of Oleho? If I say would be doichalois sheyesh b'karis, so you need a special pasuk in the Torah to tell you that you don't do yibum. But if the regular halacha is Eina says doichalois sheyesh b'karis, so then what do you need Oleho? So what's the kasha? I don't understand. And it's really Rebbe Chonon's kasha. He asks it in a different way. Let's say the din would be Eina say doichalois sheyesh b'karis. And that's the reason you can't do Yibum on a Chayvei Krisis. Someone would go and do Yibum on the Chayvei Krisis. Somebody goes and makes Yibum on Chayvei Lavin, or let's say if you'd hold Eina say doichalois say. The din would be Eina say doichalois. You would go and do Yibum. There would be a Yibum. The only problem would be that what? You over an Aveira. When the Torah says a pasuk of Oleho, the Torah removes a Chayvei Krisis from Yibum. It's not an Eishasach of Yibum, because she's an Arayis. What could the Gemara ask a question? How could the Gemara compare the Eina say doichalois sheyesh b'karis to Oleho? Oleho is a din of, Oleho is like a brick wall. You can't have Yibum with Oleho. Eina say doichalois sheyesh b'karis is an outside factor. You have a problem. So why would there be that din? Tosfos asks it a little different. What?
It's not chal.
What do you mean? What do you mean it's not chal?
It's not chal. The kedushin is not chal right away.
So you're going with because the itfis is kedushin?
Oh, right away it's not chal.
Why is it not right away not chal? It's just an isser. So if Eina say doichalois say, you wouldn't say you do the Yibum, you do the Yibum.
No,
You have a problem.
It's not Kedushin type sin, because it's Chayve Lavan.
No,
The Kedushin is not type, it's right.
Because you're already going with the Svara of Kedushin
No,
Taifsin.
no.
But if you would not go with the Svara of Kedushin Taifsin,
You should do this, so that
what would be like an Yovad Loy Mahani? What would be the din?
Kedushin is not type, it's right away. 'Cause it's
So I wanted to say like this. So we have two. Aleph, we have Davnei Maluim saying that if Chayve Lavan would be Tvisas Kedushin, there would be no such halacha of Kedushin. There would be no such halacha of Kedushin. There would be no such halacha of Yibum, because you'd have the Spetadik Tvisas Kedushin, which would stare and be Mafkir Kedushin. And then you have the halacha of so we asked the kasha from like Gimel Amid Beis, where the Gemara says that you would say Derech Eloisa would be Derech Eloisa Shish Beikaris, and here you have this halach. We asked the kasha l'chayra, there should be an afkamin in the oleh. V'anir Olaymar l'chayra. In the whole Masechtas Yevomis, there's a chakira. What is the mitzvah of Yibum? Is the mitzvah of Yibum Yevama Yavay Oleha? Live with the Eishasach that falls to you. You want to make a beer with her. That's the Maisiyim. It happens to be, there's like a fringe benefit to it. What is that? She becomes Ishtay L'Choldav. So that means you could learn that the Yibum is the Maisi Yibum. Living with her, that's the Maisi Yibum. Now, it flows from that it becomes a din of Harehi Kishtay L'Choldav. Or the Achronim say no. The whole Cheftza of Yibum is the Nasa Ishtay L'Choldav. The Ishus, that's Nisava, but from that Yibum, those are the Cheftza from the Yibum. And the Yibum is the Kinyan, the Havaya, that takes place from that Yibum, the Kishtay L'Choldav, those Shafti Yibum. Those not the Shafti Yibum, those the Yibum. The Yibum is that in. There's a question, which really, according to that, makes it very moving what the Isha has to do. The Isha is not mechuyev in Yibum. How do you say B'chlal, I say Derech Eloisa say by Yibum? She's not mechuyev in the parasha of Yibum. So what does she have to do with it? She's like an object. You have to do Yibum with her. If it's the Pshat, it's a din, Maise, that if it's a Maise, so she can't do, she doesn't have the mitzvah. She doesn't have the mitzvah. Mehechatesi, she's allowed to do it by Chayve Lavan. She's not a shutav in the mitzvah. Only he is. That's all if the Yibum is a Maise. If Yibum is Havayis Ishus, the Pshat, she's part of the whole, whatever Yibum does, she is the Yibum, because she's part of the Kinyan. In a Kinyan of Ishus, she's part of it. And that's much more moving that she has part of it also. That would be the Chakira of what the din of Yibum would be. L'chayra, Davnei Maluim is saying like the Tzad, that the Ishus is the mitzvah of Yibum. Why Davnei Maluim? First of Davnei Maluim. If there's going to be an Tvisas Kedushin the next day, right after the Yibum, after the beer, there's going to be Tvisas Kedushin. So Mela the Yibum is not a good Yibum l'chatchila, because it's only an Ishus l'zman. Who's talking about Ishus? In a case where it would be Chayve Lavan, where there's no Tvisas Kedushin, let me make the Yibum, and there won't be Tvisas Kedushin. Wer hat gebeten Tvisas Kedushin? To say steht in Avnei Maluim that he's going with the Havana that the Tvisas Kedushin is a shter and it blocks the whole Yibum, because the Metzias of Yibum is the Havayis Ishus that comes out from the Yibum. Therefore, Avnei Maluim understood if there's Tvisas Kedushin even the next day, after the beer, there's going to be a problem with the Yibum. Memela sagt Avnei Maluim that was what Zayin was Avnei Maluim, so Mela won't be. But if the din of Yibum would be the Maisa beer, then there would be no problem with Avnei Maluim. Let there be a Maisa beer. She has no Tvisas Kedushin later. Who cares? You have your Maisa Yibum and everything will be good. Im Kain, I want to say like this. What was the Gzeirus HaKos of Olecha? What's the event Gzeirus HaKos? Stam, Olecha by Arayas, Olecha by here, you can't do Yibum with Arayas? The Gemara is telling us like this. I would have thought Yibum is just a Maisa Yibum Ba'alma. So that you could possibly do it. If I say it's Doich Eloisa Sheyesh by Karas, you could be able to do it with a Chayve Krisis. It would be Doich. So to Gemara, the parsha of Arayah, maybe Yibum doesn't have with the parsha of Arayah, because Yibum is just a Maisa doing Yibum. The Torah is Machadish. we superimpose the parsha of Arayis onto Yibum. The ishus that's nesava from Yibum is connected to the ishus that says by Arayis that you can't have an ishus. The Oleho is a hekish that connects the parsha Arayis of Kol HaTorah Kula to Yibum. The Chiddush of Oleho says that Yibum is ishus. Da steht in Oleho. In the limud of Yevom Yavo Oleho Tarayis, dort steht the halacha that Yibum is this Nayadin of Kenyan. Where do you see that? From the connection of the Torah to Parshas Arayis. If Yibum wouldn't be connected to the Parsha of Arayis, so then Yibum would be a Ma'asav Alma. Since the Torah connects Yibum to the Parsha of Arayis, that means it's Ishus. Just like you can't have Ishus with Arayis. It's not just an Isser. It's antithetical to the Parsha of Arayis. So too, in Yibum, the mitzvah of Yibum is the opposite of the Parsha of Arayis. In Oleho.
Who says the Parsha of Arayis is in Zishus? Maybe it's every beer.
No, there's Tfisas Kedushin in Arayis. That's clear. There's no Tfisas Kedushin. It's mufka from Ishus. So in the Parsha of Arayis, which is connected to the Parsha of Yibum, there the Torah is now telling you that Yibum has that din. Im kein Davnei Malum is gewaldig. Of course the Avnei Malum is saying, Lamais, if you can't have Tfisas Kedushin, if Chayvei Lavin doesn't have Tfisas Kedushin, so then it's an Ishus Lizman. I'm a gefrekt the Gemara's Kasha. The Gemara's Kasha is for Oleho. Before there's an Oleho, then the Pshat, the Parsha of Ishus is just a Ma'aser Mitzvah Yibum. If it's a Ma'aser Mitzvah of Yibum, so then the halacha would be, it would be a Yibum without the Parsha of Ishus. Im kein fragt die Gemara, if I say is der Geloise Sheish by Kars, it should be good. After the Gemara was Machadish, this Hekish of Oleho, now, so anytime you have to have Tfisas Kedushin. If you don't have Tfisas Kedushin, you can't have Ma'aser Yibum. So Memela, the Gemara good. Memela, Davnei Malum is good with the Gemara. Im Kain, maybe it's very good. There's a big difference if Yibum is the Ma'aser or if Yibum is the Toitzoah. The Minchas Chinuch in Mitzvah Aleph asks Akash if someone's over an Aveira and he lives with a Chayvei Lavin, or he even lives with a Chayvei Krisis, he makes a Mamzer. Is he Makayim Pru'uravu? He brings rayas that he's Makayim Pru'uravu. You know, how can he be Makayim Pru'uravu? Mitzvah Boba Aveira. You were over a Mitzvah Boba Aveira. You didn't Aveira, you did the Bia. Sagt the Minchas Chinuch. The Aveira happened b'shas Bia. The Kiyum is the child. Mitzvah Boba Aveira only works when the mitzvah and the Aveira are one Ma'aser. When there's an Aveiris Ma'aser, then you say there's a Mitzvah Boba Aveira. When there's a Toitzor of the mitzvah, that Toitzor is not the Aveira. So Mamela, they don't come together, and you don't have Mitzvah Boba Aveira. He said the Chayr will be a Gvaldik Anafkamina. If the Pshat is, there's a Mitzvah, if the Mitzvah of Yibum is the Toitzor that you have the Ishus, the Ma'aser B is not the Mitzvah. The Ma'aser B is the Hechatimtza to schaffen Ishus. The Ishus, that's Nesava, that's created through the Bia, that is the Yibum. In that, there wouldn't be a Mitzvah Boba Aveira. Now, that's why it's good. But if the Mitzvah would be the Bia Ba'alma, Ma'aser Yevom Yavo, not the Nasa Loikish L'chol Dava. So then the halacha would be that what? Then the halacha would be a Mitzvah Boba Aveira. Come to Chayis in the Havamin of the Gemara that Yibum was just a Ma'aser Ba'alma. If a say would not be Doicha Loisa Sheish by Chorus, so then there wouldn't be a Tfisas Kedushin. There wouldn't be a Tfisas Yibum B'chlal. There wouldn't be a Mitzvah Yibum B'chlal. I don't mean there wouldn't be a Mitzvah Yibum. Why wouldn't there be a Mitzvah Yibum? Because it would be a Mitzvah Boba Aveira. If it would be a Mitzvah Boba Aveira, so then it wouldn't be possible. Ma'ashein came L'maskonas HaGemara. After the Gemara says Oleho, so Mela has to do with Tfisas Kedushin. No Tfisas Kedushin. Ein a Chanami. If you would make it with Chayvei Lavin where there wouldn't be Tfisas Kedushin, so then the Yibum would be a Yibum, and you wouldn't say Mitzvah Boba Aveira. Happens to be that Toisei Akash. After we see Yevom Yavo Oleho, after we see Toisei Akash, after bottom on Daf Gimel Amid Beis, Toisei Akash, Amai Lo Yalfinon, the litchi ma'aser the yibum the dochi loisa say the chorus the eshusach. So Tosfos has an interesting kasha is that you should say asay is doicha loisa say sheyesh by karas, and memel it should be doicha even the arayis. It should have had that din. Could be according to what we're saying l'maskanas hagemara that there's no din that it's not doicha the loisa say sheyesh by karas. It's like it'll be like the avnei maluim. L'maskanas hagemara you can't have it by chayvei krisis, because then you won't have tefisas kedushin. By eishesach, it's completely hutra, so it's not there. There's nothing. Mashenke, when it comes the next step, then you would be able to do it, and that would be a teres teisus kash. Just I can't pass it by without saying there's other terutzim, but I think the teretz of Reb Shimon Shkop on to say why the Ktsoy Davnei Meluim was not bothered by ein asay doicha loisa say sheyesh by karas. Nachamol. He has a kasha Tosfos say ein asay doicha say asay is doicha loisa. So according to Rabbi Akiva, it should be able to be asay doicha loisa. So he says if it would be asay doicha loisa sheyesh by karas, so then there would be. He's asking Lamaisa the Ktsoy is a good kasha. He's not going to answer the stira. Lamaisa it's a good kasha. So how could there be? How would have the Gemara thought that there would have been? And what does Tosfos hold? What does Tosfos hold? What does he do with Davnei Meluim's kasha? Davnei Meluim is asking a kasha. How could Tosfos say Esa doicha loisa sheyesh by karas? The next day after you do the yibum, it wakes up like a monster of tefisas kedushin, and that should be a stira. Zok Reb Shimon, and what's the kasha? And you see that by every chayvei lavin. When I say is doicha say of yibum of chayvei lavin regular, not like Rabbi Akiva. You say I say doicha and the next day you also on her. The biyah shni is also the Gemara on Daf Chof. Abeferishi Gemara the biyah is also. So what is the pshat? Here there it's not doicha, and Tosfos is asking a good kasha. There it is doicha. Fake davnei melum. You don't have tefisas kedushin, so it should be the same. It should be the exact same din like the next day that is the isalav. Sagt Reb Shimon Shkop gewaldig. Asay doicha loisa asay for yibum is a bulldozer. Whatever you need that you should be makayim the asay is doicha loisa. If I need that in 3 years from now there should still be tefisas kedushin, the asay is doicha that also. The asay of yibum is doicha that I should do yibum right now. And it incorporates, part of Yibum is that I need Tefisas Kedushin. Why do I need Tefisas Kedushin? Because like the Davnei Meluim says, if I don't have Tefisas Kedushin, it's a Kedushin Lizman. So you know what the Yibum says? La'olam voed, I'll be married to this Isha. I say the same thing by Chayvei Lavin. When it's a regular Chayvei Lavin, where there is Tefisas Kedushin. So the next day I should be able to live with her. So Reb Shimon, Yibum doesn't need you to live with her the next day. You need one biyah with her, that's it. She's your wife, and she's also to be lived with. The yibum doesn't need that you should live with her the second biyah. The yibum just needs that you should make a biyah with her, she should be your wife. The ishus is the mitzvah, the host ishus. You have ishus with her. If it would be by chayvei krisus, it has to take off the tefisas kedushin. Because if it doesn't take off the tefisas kedushin, so then the pshat would be, you don't have yibum. That's the pshat.
Is an ishus with no the is be forever?
Yeah, you're married to an isha who's chayvei lavin. You marry an isha who's a mamzeres.
Yeah.
You're married 100%. You have to give her a get. She's an eishes ish. Someone's chayv misa, and you are not allowed to live with her each time. Als chayvei lavin. She's still your isha. By chayvei krisus, she's not your isha. In order for it to be a yibum, she has to be a yibum with she has to have a yibum with ishus. By chayvei krisus, you wouldn't have that. So the tefis kedushin has to stay because that's part of the mitzvah. That means asay doicha loisa say has to be so star that it will take off. That'll take off even that din. So it'll take off even that din. What? What is the law? One time. Tosfos on Daf Chof is a kasha. But that's a kasha in Tosfos. But that's one time. It doesn't say that you make yibum with her and then you live with her and have biyah further. It says she's your wife. She's your wife.
Mamzi is an issue to do. The Torah here is telling you to do Yibum. The Torah can't tell you to enter.
So the Torah says to do the Yibum. But then it's up at Ferish Gemara. The next Yibum is also. It's up at Ferish Gemara. The Gemara says Beer Shniya is also. If Beer Shniya is also, you can't do that. You can't do that din. So just I think that's Reb Shimon capsulized everything that we were saying with this din of Tzis Kedusha. What?
It seems from the possibility.
It's nothing. It's a riot.
Why should it have an
Because you'd say if it would be only out for love, I'll say that relationship by Karson doesn't have it. Yeah. I just want to fair rights just to make it Davar Shovel of Al Nefesh. On Daf Chof, I think it's on Daf Chof, but I don't remember where it is. I just want to say this over because it's kedai to hear it, and then we'll finish off. We know, we just said now, if a mamzeres falls to Yibum, he has to do Yibum on her, one bia. The next bia is aser. Because Asay is doichaloy say one bia. The next one is aser. We know that in the times of Rus and the times of Yehuda, they all had Yibum, Chiddush Dika Yibum. Not only brothers, even relatives. We're not going to go into that right this way. There was some sort of a mitzvah Yibum. That was all. Now Rus was a Moyaviyah. Just like you're not allowed to live with a mamzeres, there's a law in the Torah of Moyav, Aman and Moyav, Lo Yavai Bakal Hashem. Boyaz came up with a Moyer de Kachiddish. Amoyni v'loy amoynis. But there was Amoyni v'loy amoynis. It was a Chiddish. Not everyone wanted to be Makabel. That a female Amoynis and Moyavis don't have the problem. So he said he's going to do the Yibum and take her. He's going to take. Why is he allowed to take her? Because she's not an Amoyni Moyavi. Because she's Amoynis Moyavis. So he's allowed to take her. First he went to somebody who was a closer relative. And he was, what? Pliny Almighty. So the Pliny Almighty, he went over to him, and he said to the Pliny Almighty, you do it. So the Pliny Almighty said to him, he said, Pen Ashchis es nachlasi. If I do it, I'm going to lose my legacy. And what am I going to do? So therefore it's no good. So he said, you do it. Now he didn't want to be makabel, Amoyni v'loy amoynis, me'av v'loy me'av. Frek de Welt. If he didn't want to be makabel it, he should have said to Boyaz, zinta mishugine. I don't want to do it because it's against the law. The law is you can't take a moyav, it's chayvei lavin. So Mamela, you can't do it. So there's a famous teretz from the Brisker HaRav, which I'm going to speak out right now. Zokta Marsho, Ishkin Kashi. Zokta Marsho, it was chayvei lavin. Oh, but given an asay from Yibum. So one second. So he was going to take her, else what? What was he going to take? Else asay dechalesis. Novos, the beer Rishayim, he'll do the beer Rishayim. It'll be mutter. 1 second. No, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. So therefore, he would make the Kedusha, he would make the Yibum with her. So you know why I don't want to do it? Even if I say is Deichalaisa say, and I can make Yibum, but the offspring will be Moyavis. And if you make Yibum on a Mamzeres, the children are Mamzerim. So he said, it's true, I would be okay. But I'm going to be pen ashkis es nachlosi, zok the marshoy. The children, the offspring, are going to be tainted. Zok the marshoy, that's the pshat. Why did Boyaz not hold it the pen ashkis es nachlosi? Because Boyaz held amoyni v'loy amoynis mavle moyavis. So he held, that's it doesn't go further. So therefore it'll be mutter. But now, there'll be a moyer de kanafkamin also between the two of them. According to Pliny Almighty, how many times was he able to live with her? Once. One beer. No, he would say, it's not a shazah. I'm accepting the marshal that it was like a shazah. So therefore it'll be the din. It would be the din. He would only live with her how long? Once, according to Pliny Almighty. According to the what's his name, how many times would he live with her? According to Boyaz, he would live with her forever. So the Pliny Almighty was going around saying, Boyaz, you're a meshugana. You're going to live with her forever? That's a chasa. According to you, he didn't hold of the Amoyni v'lei Amoynis. Boyaz said what? I hold it a whole shtickle because I hold Amoyni v'lei Amoynis. Boyaz went and lived with her. What happened the next day?
He died.
He died. What do you think the fake news said then? What do you think they said? You know what they said? It's a raya muchrachas, not like Boyaz. Because if the din would be like Boyaz, here lightning struck and it hit Boyaz. So Boyaz is definitely off. And was bleibt the halacha? Like Boyaz. I think that's really maybe one of the reasons we lane Rus on Shavuos. Why do we lane Rus on Shavuos? Mir geyen with the halacha. We don't go with Huji Buji and Hocus Pocus. We go, if the halacha remains like Boyaz, it remains like Boyaz. Klal Yisrael, Shleimei Amayni Yisrael. They all like that, and that would be the din, and that's what would come out. That's what would come out in this halacha of that din. Just fair ice, just Jewish fair ice. We're holding, like we say, of Reb Chaim Kanievsky's Tzal. This week's parsha is the parsha of Noiser, that you're not allowed to leave over from the Karbanos. The Chinuch in Mitzvah Kuf Men Bey says the Yisoid of the Isser of Noiser is like the Noiser of the Mon. It's because of B'tochen. A person is not supposed to worry about put aside meat and say, I'll have it for the next day, the next day, the next day. The Eibishter gave me for today, I'll eat it today. He says that now a person shouldn't be choinik himself with daigus, totally about what will be afterwards. That's what the Torah's Maram is with the Isser of Noiser. I saw brought down in the name of Reb Leizer Gordon that tells HaRav. He said that's why there's chalukim in the time of Noiser. Shlomo, you have 2 days. Because who eats Shlomo? Every Yid brings a carbon, he could eat the Shlomo. So that's Pasha to Yidden. We need them to have betochen, but okay, they have to have betochen. They can set aside for 1 day, not more than 2 days. Chatos is 1 day. Who eats the chatos? Only Kahanim. Kahanim, the bar is higher. The bar is raised higher. They need betochen on a higher day. Zok Reb Leizer Gordon. Toida. Toida is only 1 day. Zok Reb Leizer Gordon. Why do you bring a toida? Because the Eibishter did for you a nes. If the Eibishter did a nes for you, the bar is raised up. You can't just say thank you. You have to do something to pick up your betochen. Do something concrete to pick it up. And Mameli says, therefore, by Toida, it goes back to like Kaihanim, you need 1 day. I wanted to be Moisif. Carbon Pesach is not even a day. Till Chatzois, after Chatzois, it turns into Noiser. When a person has to be Chayiv, Odom Lirsatz Mekilu Yatzim Mitzrayim, he has to raise himself up a level until he is in a matziv of even a half a day. He has more. He wants more betochen. He worked on himself. He's holding even by more. If people will hear, and they're just busy about the logistics and the tumult about a levaya with 1 million people and what's going to be and how it's going to be, that's one thing. What are we going to do more? What are we going to be moisif? How are we going to say that we're doing something, we're taking something concrete, a Kabbalah, and what do we do if it's about learning, if it's about learning more and learning with more understanding, if it's about Beinodam Lechaveiroi, thinking about a person who's right next to you, or Digdaka Mitzvahs, or just more Ashkofis HaTorah, thinking about the Eibishter much more. If we do that, the Eibishter will help all of us, and we'll be Zeichem Etz Hashem, that Achtoi V'Chesed, V'Yishma Oid Sheva V'Shoid, to Klal Yisrael, we'll be Zeichem Etz Hashem, to Psuras Tevis Yeshus V'Nechamas. Amen.